we're very happy to see all of you here. That's great. I'd like to start by thanking the staff of the Bay Tree restaurant, because there's been a lot of preparation and a lot of planning and a lot of changes and more changes. So I think we have to think of them tonight, and I thank them a lot, and I hope that you'll all enjoy your Anyway, we're all here for Coleman's birthday, and you know, it's hard to believe it's his 80th birthday. I can't believe that I'm doing this. He's 80, you know. So, but as they say, time flies when he's having fun. Of course, I should mention some of the people who couldn't make it tonight. All of Coleman's sisters, for example, in Los Angeles, Barbados, North Carolina. You know, we have here Stella. You know. She came from England, and so she beat the snow because she came on Friday. However, my uncle Brian, who was supposed to catch a plane this morning, got stuck in England because of the snow. Couldn't make it, you know.
Too late for breakfast. Or Brexit.
I should also say that we are in the presence of someone, I should say the most senior member of the Young family here tonight. That's Mr. Coleman Youngs. And I'll be getting back to Coleman later because of, well, the bad weather, the cold, the snow, the ice, the man from the north, the Arctic Circle. And we're also in the presence of, come on in, John. We're in the presence of two pilots here tonight. A lot of different people here tonight, but strange, we have two pilots, Coleman, and of course my brother Neil. My sister Sophie will say a few words during the evening, and so will Neil. You know? And of course Tony Mann, as you know, will say grace in Irish. And we'll follow up then with the dark horse Paul Young, who will say a few words at the end of the evening. Anyway, tonight we're going to have food, music, and music from a couple of local musicians you may have seen before. Dino, that will be out after the dessert. We'll be having some music outside by the fireplace. Come down from the north, giving us all a big shot. That brings us back to a place far away, very cold. Coleman was only 19. Yeah, the Arctic Circle. So, the story begins with his brother Coleman, who was a pilot working up there in the Arctic Circle. He was flying in supplies for the Americans who were building the Dew line, the distant early warning system against the Russians. And he was working up there. He sent a letter to his 19-year-old brother in Dunmanway, invited him up to come up to it, in case he said he could work to his heart's content on a 6-month contract. So, of course, Coleman reacted immediately, and he stopped off only in New York, where he gave all of his money to a dentist who removed most of his teeth. It's required to work up in the North Pole, you know. Yeah. So, anyway, Coleman stepped off the plane up in Baffin Bay. In the month of May, it was snowing. Makes us think of tonight, you know? So anyway, his first day of work, he was very lucky because Coleman had got him a cushy job in the office. However, once the men in the office discovered that this young Irish lad could not type to save his life, he spent his second day rolling barrels of diesel across the runway. And it had still not stopped snowing. Now, most people in their right minds worked up there for about 6 months. They're working a 6-month contract, work as hard as you can, save all your money, and then they'd go back out, and they'd enjoy all the money that they made. But Coleman was joined by his brother Brian, And the two lads realised this was a great place to make money, you know, because they couldn't spend it on anything anyway. So Coleman ended up staying up there for 13 months in a row, which is a record. Yeah. And in the white hell of the north. Something only the dangerous Dan McGrew could do. Yeah. Anyway, Coleman came out with his savings and he used it to pay for 5 years of university, where he discovered forestry and my mother. So the two, after a few years in Canada and a few children later, we find ourselves in front of a man who built the first sawmill in Portlaoise.
Hey! Knock on wood.
We find ourselves in front of a man who created the largest private forestry plantation in Ireland, over 400 acres.
Hey!
This man had to hire a helicopter to fly the men and the equipment into one of the most inaccessible parts of Wicklow. But this was nothing new to him, for when he was in Canada, he'd already built roads and bridges in places where probably a man had never set foot before. You know, there was nothing there in these, you know, totally desolate places, just forest, and the roads had to be put in, bridges had to be built. Coleman was the man. You know? He was also the first man to bring Swedish forestry equipment to Ireland. For instance, the forwarder. I'm sure nobody knows what that is, but we know.
I think Johnny O'Reilly was the organizer.
So that's right, forestry engineering, establishing plantations, harvesting plantations, doing research. It's all run of the mill for the man who said, when you want something done yourself, when you want something done, do it yourself. Coleman finally, after all that, he finally went to far afield as Ballyfin, where he was invited by the new luxury hotel there to remove all the non-native trees and to replace them with 40,000 Irish oak. No mean feat. Now, my father is a man who repeated a lot of messages to his children.
Yes.
And I tell you, it stuck.
Psychological genius.
So I asked myself, you know, how did he get to this point where he kept repeating these same things? And I realized it was probably up at the Arctic Circle. He was probably lying in bed up there in a blizzard. It's dawn, you know, the alarm goes off, and he thinks to himself, up and at him. Because he knows it's backs to the wall, because it's tough at the top. And you've got to be as strong as an ox in order to face the day. Because as we all know, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Now, after all the success, Coleman has made a few enemies in the forestry world. They're all four-legged enemies. The deer who jump the fences into the plantations to eat the fresh and tender saplings. The rabbits who burrowed under the fences. And the hares who amused themselves by sharpening their teeth on the top of the plant, thus ruining the plants, which all had to be carefully replaced at great expense. So before we start this evening, I'll just say the last few words, you know. This is not a holiday camp. Keep your eye on the ball. And I'm leaving in 4 minutes.